Welcome to the Leadership School podcast. I'm your host, leadership and self-care coach, Kyla Cofer. Here at the Leadership School, you'll hear leaders from around the world sharing their stories and expertise on how to lead with balance and integrity. Our goal? Teach you how to be an extraordinary leader. Welcome back, leaders. Thanks so much for joining me on the Leadership School podcast today. Thanks for listening and subscribing. It really is always a pleasure to show up with you here in this space. So thanks for joining me. I don't have a guest with me today. We are still in our college tour. We're still having conversations with faculty, staff from college campuses around the United States. We're taking just a little break from that today to have a little conversation about something that I have been noticing in my conversations and just in my own personal experiences. So I thought it was worth bringing up. At some point in your leadership journey, you're going to come across, if you haven't already, a situation that feels impossible. It feels really tough. It may be unexpected. It might be just where you feel like you're not sure what to do next and you just kind of feel maybe a little lost. Maybe depending on your personality, that's going to come across different ways. But for me, this shows up as I feel like I just don't know what to do. I can't do this. This is really tough. And in these moments, we have often this fight or flight response where I'm going to push through and really fight for this. I know where I'm going. I know what my goal is and I'm going to get there. This is just tough and I could figure this out. But we might come across one where it's like, I just want out. I can't do this anymore. Like I have to run. I need to find a different solution that doesn't include me being here in this space any longer. As entrepreneurs, this comes up because running a business can be really, really challenging and you keep hitting roadblock after roadblock. But I want to propose an offer that when we come up with these situations that we have this moment of this decision feels too big for what I can bring to it, that this can be a really strength building moment. When things are tough, the process of working through it is really just skill building. It's building strength in a skill. And it's really interesting that when people are naturally gifted at something, they tend to believe that they are more skilled than they actually are. When things are difficult for us, if someone calls us an expert in something, we might feel we aren't actually an expert. I'm not an expert at this. I'm just learning. I'm just figuring it out. But we actually have more skill because of how hard we've worked at it. And we know that we're just learning and we always have something more to learn. And that's what's happening when we're coming up with that decision, up to that hard, impossible feeling moment. It's part of this skill that we're building. Maybe resiliency. My friend Manya, why don't you go listen to her podcast? She has a podcast called Notes on Resilience. And so I'm thinking about that as I'm thinking of this word resiliency. We have this resiliency in us that we're building, this strength building in these tough moments. And so I think sometimes we have to step back from the decision. We have to step back from the actual moment and decision and look at the process a little bit differently. We have to decide, is this a moment that's building my skill? Or is this something that I have to step back and really determine and decipher and listen to my intuition? I had a conversation with someone this morning who'd gotten himself into a bit of trouble. I am a coach, a speaker for the Nashville John School for men who've been arrested for the solicitation of a prostitute. And in Nashville, they require you to go to this day-long course, and I speak at this course. And so he'd gotten himself into a bit of this trouble. And what he said was he was headed towards this moment, and his intuition told him to walk away. But he ignored it, and he said it over and over. I kept hearing, don't go, don't go, don't go. And he ignored that and got himself in quite a bit of trouble. When we come across these moments that we're struggling to either make that decision or trying to figure out what to do or where to go, what to do next, it's really important to have developed this strength of listening to our own intuition, because we are all created to know who we are and what we need and what we want. And sometimes we forget in the process of our busy lives, surviving, making the next decision, trying to go where we're going to go, meeting those goals, we can forget who we actually are. And when we've forgotten that, our intuition, it's trying to speak to us, but we ignore it because we're focused on something else. But if we can come back and focus in on our intuition, it might give us the answer that we're looking for. So there are going to be these times and these tough decision-making moments, these big moments when we're trying to figure out where do we go? What do we do next? When we have to understand, is this a moment that's building my skill? Is this a moment when I see my goal? It's out there. I'm going for it. And this is just a roadblock to get to it. And if that's the case, then it becomes, this is just a roadblock to my goal. I can figure this out, because the goal is created out there because it's meant for you to push through and to get to it. And if that's the case, then you know you're going to get through this moment. It might just be tough. And we'll talk about how to get through it in a minute. But we have to determine what is blocking us in this moment. Is it just that obstacle that we have to leap over, push through, break down to get to our goal? Or is it something else? Is this our intuition telling us, I really need to step back here. I need to pause. We need to turn and go a different direction. Those are very different moments, and it's really important to learn the difference. So if you have not learned how to determine the difference, this is going to take practice. This is where training comes in. Leadership training skills, which we're talking about in the college tour. It's leadership training skills. It's decision-making skills. We've had some episodes on how to make decisions and how to prepare yourself for tough decisions. It's building that resiliency, that strength in you for meeting that goal. So whatever that goal is, if there's something in your way, is it just something that you need to learn how to do? Is it just something that, like a skill maybe, or somewhere you need to bring somebody else in who can help and support with that thing if that's not something you want to grow and learn in? Like for me, technology, I sometimes have trouble with doing a new piece of technology or trying to create a plan for something, that like a marketing plan, a campaign. I just don't really know what to do. And I honestly don't have any business doing. So I can figure that out if that's a skill that I need to develop and learn. Or I can say, it's time for me to bring something in. Let me focus in on the skills that I'm really good at. And now it's time to bring something in. Like I have somebody who edits this podcast. Thank you. Let's shout out to Neil Panji. So he edits these podcasts for me because I realized I no longer had the skill, the time available to do that. And I wanted quality audio for you. So I sent that over to someone who is way more qualified. So is this a moment where you can get some support and assistance with it? Or is this something that you just have to hunker down, learn how to do it, because that goal is out there waiting for you and you have to keep working towards it and push through those moments that are really tough? Or is this a skill that you need to develop a little bit more in trusting yourself, trusting your gut? You have that gut feeling that's telling me to do this or to not do this. Can you trust that gut feeling? Has it led you wrong before? If it has led you wrong, then maybe it wasn't really your gut leading you wrong. It was just your understanding, interpretation of what really your own intuition and mind was telling you to do. It's really important to surround yourself with the people who can support that. So do you have coaches, mentors, friends that are coming with you on this journey who can chime in, pitch in when you're like, hey, I'm not really sure what to do here? And they could say, oh, I got your back. I know what you need to do. Or oh, yep, I'm with you. You need to probably make a different decision. Or they can just let you listen and let you talk about it, or can really give you guidance and direction. When we surround ourselves with people who are just yes people, who are just going to tell us what we want to hear, we're not helping ourselves. We are just trying to make ourselves feel good. You're not really helping yourself reach that goal. If you're watching me on video, I'm like pointing over there. Like I keep thinking that this is like my goal over there. I see it. It's like I can grab it. It's coming. It's out there. That mountain top, that mountain peak that I'm going to reach. We need to surround ourselves with the people who can give us that encouragement and support to help focus us, to help us reframe our mind. Is this a walk away moment, or is this a push through moment? Those push through moments, sometimes that's so difficult. I love this quote from Jesse Itzler. He's a multiple business owner. He's been very successful. And he said, when things get hard in business, you're just weeding out the competition because all those people quit at this stage, but you're the one who kept going. So is it a goal that you need to keep going towards? Because you know what you want and you're going to get there. And this is just a tough moment because trying to get to that goal is not easy. Think about super athletes, Super Bowl winners. We got the Super Bowl, Olympic medalists. There are moments that they wanted to give up. It was really tough. Reaching those top level goals, not easy tasks. They had their goal in mind and they were willing to do what it took to get there, and promise you that they sacrificed a lot along the way. But you also have to be okay with what you're willing to sacrifice, what you're willing to let go of to get towards that goal, to push through those hard moments. At some point, you may decide that what you're having to sacrifice is not worth the goal. The more versed you are in making these tough decisions and in understanding your own capacity and your own desires, your own level, your own need for that goal, the more practiced you are and the more maybe trained you are. But yeah, it's training, but the more practiced you are in that, the easier it will be to push through some of these decisions. And I'm not going to lie. Sometimes, running your own business, being in a leadership role, sometimes it's really, really tough and really challenging. But sometimes it's also really amazing. It's fantastic. Life is so beautiful. It's full of all these ups and downs and these beautiful moments mixed with these tough moments. And in our leadership journey, we're going to see all of those. So when it's getting really challenging, when you're just not sure what to do, where to go, who to turn to, if it's worth continuing going towards this particular goal, take a beat, take some rest, take a moment to sit back and decipher, is this just something that is tough in the way that I need to leap over or that I need to break through because I have that goal out there that I know I'm going to get? Or is this a time to really pause, reflect, and maybe turn and go a different direction? Because either one of those are fine. No one's telling you that you have to do a certain one or a certain way. It's your life. You're in control. You get to pick whichever one you want. I'm just here to support you in helping you make that decision, the one that you really do want. Sometimes it's hard. It's confusing. We're like, I don't really know. I have all these options and choices and it might seem a little overwhelming and I just can't figure out which direction to turn. That's why there's training resources, there's coaching, there's friends, there's people, there's books to read, there's podcasts to listen to, people out here who know the journey and want to be there and support you in it. So just a little bit of encouragement for you today in your leadership role. Leadership's a journey. And that's what we talk about here at the podcast, that we're all just kind of figuring it out. I love when people are like, well, other people know what they're doing. No, they don't. I say this all the time. Nobody has it all figured out. We're all just figuring it out as we go. And the more prepared you are, just like that, lifting those weights, like lifting weights. You get a little stronger every day, a little stronger every day. So if you're filling your mind and your energy with things that are helping you, supporting you, challenging you, teaching you, giving you new ideas to feed off of, you're going to be constantly moving up in this ladder towards your goals. And sometimes we don't know what goals are until we have gotten there. We didn't know we had that goal until we passed it. Or we didn't know that we wanted something until something else that we thought we wanted was no longer available. It's just part of how this beautiful, amazing journey is. It happens in leadership. It happens everywhere in life. So leaders are not immune. We're still figuring it out. I just want to encourage you a little bit today that if you're stuck, if you're not sure where to go, step back, decipher, is this just hampering my journey? Is this just something hampering? That's not like a weird word. Is this just blocking my goal? Or is this telling me it's time to pause and move back? And I think that's where it gets really tricky, because we can go, I don't really know which one it is. But I want to tell you that you do. You have it in you already. You do know who you are, what it is that you need, what it is that you want. Sometimes it just might be covered up with all the busyness that we've been trying to do. So you may need to just take a step back and take a moment to reconnect with your goal, reconnect with your own character, your own soul, and figure out what it is that you're looking for. And the person that I mentioned today in the John School, that's the whole conversation we had at John School today. We talked about what does it look like to really reconnect with who you are. And when you're doing that, the answers end up opening themselves up for you. So thanks so much for joining, for listening. It's truly, again, an honor to show up with you. If there's any way that I can support you in this leadership journey, I'd love to do it, because I have really struggled in my own. And I've had so many people who have been there for me on the hard days, who have shown up, people who didn't even know that's what they were doing. They just happened to reach out at just the right moment. But I'm here for you to support you on this journey. Would love to do that any way that I possibly can. Thanks so much for listening. You have a great day. Hey there, leaders. Kyla here. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this show and you want to support us, we have just opened up our Patreon page. So you can go check it out at patreon.com/leadership school. For just $6.50 a month, you're going to get all of the episodes completely ad-free. So as we add paid sponsors going forward, as the show is growing, we are going to do ad-free for all Patreon supporters. But also, the best part is that you're going to get the bonus role. So after the interview, we usually keep the conversation going for just a few minutes, and this tends to be the richest part of the conversation. And I often think, I really wish my guests could have heard this part. So I'm going to just keep the camera and the microphone rolling. And then I want to share that part of the conversation. It's still it's not the interview, but it's still the rich conversation with these incredible guests. I'm going to share that conversation with you on the Patreon page. So if you're really loving this podcast, we'd really love to continue to support you on your leadership journey. So definitely check us out at patreon.com/leadership school. And thanks again for just being so invested in your leadership journey.